Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a whole new episode of Full Sim Ahead. I'm your host, Zoe. Cantu is on the other side. Episode 228. What's the next move for the Houston Astros after that big trade, trading away Kyle Tucker, receiving Isaac Paredes, Wisniewski, and Cam Smith? It's kind of been a little low lately as of late.
Yeah, I think everybody's just kind of testing the waters of what's going to be going on with Bregman. I think that's the biggest move that's yet to be seen. So a little slow, trying to work things out. I think the fact that Alex Bregman's still free agent, I'm sure that's the reason why it's slow because they're trying to talk numbers, talk years. But another great show. We'll get more into that as the podcast goes on. Just a reminder, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and X. I'm about to say Twitter. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. But so before we get this great show going, how are you doing?
We're doing fabulous over here on this side. It's Tuesday night, so we want to say terrific Tuesday, or I
Yeah,
mean,
I can.
that's really the only word I can really think of right now at the top of my head. But yeah, beautiful Tuesday night. If you're listening to this on a wonderful Wednesday morning, hopefully everything is getting going and starting your day on the hump day, getting close to the weekend. College football's heading up for this weekend as well. The playoffs start. Texans and Chiefs are going to be battling out. Possibly, Patrick Mahomes might not even play.
Well, he was a full participant today in practice, so it's leading towards you well.
If I'm him, I'm kind of like laying low and not trying to participate because you never know that the ankle could roll even worse with a guy like Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. on the two sides.
Yeah, but it'll be a great game. I mean, the Texans are great against the Dolphins, and they got two playoff matchups in the coming days. I think these two matches will determine if the Texans are pretenders or contenders.
Definitely, but if you want more text and news, text and talk, all that type of stuff, make sure you head to Bring on the Blitz podcast on the Arskina Chat Network because they give good insight. We got a credential media member there that gives all the good info from I guess, what would you say, the clubhouse for the Texans
The
or
press
the
box.
no, but the locker room inside the
Oh,
Texans.
yeah, the locker room. It's just called locker
Yeah,
room.
so they give you the good insights. They'll be. I think they already previewed this coming game against the Kansas City Chiefs this Saturday, but it should be a fun one. Is Beyonce coming? I think it's the Baltimore game, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think it's the Baltimore. Yeah, because it's the Netflix game one,
Yeah.
so I think it's
Well,
that one.
Netflix needs to step up their game because I'm not trying to watch it like how Tyson and Paul
God,
literally froze the whole time.
you couldn't even watch the fight. It was like mid punch. You don't even know if it landed or not because it froze already. So hopefully they learn from their mistake on that end.
Yeah, hopefully they got everything situated. But let's get into it. The little topics that we're gonna have update on third base because we're not sure if it's gonna be Isaac Paredes at third. Nolan Arenado was in serious suitors as a potential guy to be at third base for a trade target for the Astros. Alex Bregman, of course, still there. We're going to project the starting rotation and then project the Astros lineup as of right now, as of today, because we're not ruling anything out. I'm pretty sure that the Astros are still going to make moves just like the title of our episode. But we'll have to see about that. And a little bit around the horn, not too much in there. A little spoiler: Bellinger's on the move, but we'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the show. But before we get started, I know we usually don't do this, but we want to know where you're listening, where you at, where you tuning in from, because we've had people from Ireland, we've had people from Mexico, we've had people from Spain. I mean, we love the interaction with our audience. So make sure you drop a comment, tell us where you're listening from, and let's get the show started, man. But let's get the updates on third base. And this is per Chandler Rome. Quote, the Astros have emerged as serious suitors for Nolan Arenado. And this is a guy that we have talked about, me and you, maybe about 2 or 3 episodes ago, about a guy that could be potentially targeted for the Astros if they can't sign Alex Bregman at third base. And, signing a guy like, not signing, but trading for a guy like a 10-time Gold Glove winner, 6-time Platinum Glove winner as well, All Star, Silver Slugger. The only thing he hasn't really done a lot in his career, I would say it's kind of a Hall of Fame career just for the Gold Gloves, but he hasn't really gone to the playoffs that much. I think he's gone to the postseason more with the Rockies than the Cardinals, which is, really shocking because they went to get him and Paul Goldschmidt. Then this team was supposed to be really well in the NL Central, making a fight into the postseason in the National League, making it to the NLCS, but just didn't turn out that way. And for Nolan Arenado, has a no trade clause on his contract. If anybody did not know that, And earlier in the month, he already had listed his teams he would waive his no trade clause to, which is the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Philadelphia Phillies, the New York Mets, Boston Red Sox, and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. All of these teams, I would say, are postseason ready, but maybe the Pirates. I'm kind of flirting with a wild card as of now, but
You
Angels.
think you think Angels are postseason ready?
I mean, they've been making moves this past offseason, but I do not think they're ready for it. But you never know. Never know what can happen. The guy is a California kid, but a little bit more info on his contract because he did sign a big contract extension with the Colorado Rockies back in 2016. It was like 9 years, 375 million. It was like the largest contract I want to say in Colorado Rockies franchise history. But he signed through 2027. He'll earn 32 million next season in 25. And then the next 2 seasons in 26, he'll be earning 27 million, and 27 he'll be making 15 million. If you're the Astros and you're going to target a guy like that, in my opinion, my guess, I think the Astros are probably talking to St. Louis to see potentially if they would like to kind of bite off that contract because 32 million, Astros already under the CBT. I don't think they're going to want to go and pay that amount of money for a guy like him. But I do got some stats for us coming in. But I do want to get your take. What do you think of this idea, the Astros trading for a 10-time Gold Glover and Arenado?
I mean, the way you look at it, to me, it's like a cheaper Alex Bregman. Just because as you were listing the years he's gonna get paid, Alex Bregman, his AAV will probably be a little bit over 20, or not a little bit, but like over 20. So if you can pay a little bit lesser than Alex Bregman, I mean, I think it's a win for the Astros. Again, Jim Crane's all about saving money, as you can tell. He's not gonna get dish out those long contracts. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying Nolan Arenado is a bad player because by all means, 10 Gold Gloves, like you were saying, like just Hall of Fame, just on Gold Gloves alone. However, I think Alex Bregman has a little bit more juice than Arenado. Just it could be the age, it could be, you know, just that. No, Arenado's back, like coming from a down year. Now that can easily change. A new ballpark, new teammates, that could easily turn around. However, I think there's a little bit more value in Alex Bregman than Nolan Arenado. At the end of the day, if the trade does go through, I wouldn't be too like it's a it's a money saving move, right? So I think that'll help the Astros in that way. But for the sake of the clubhouse, just the leadership role, I think Alex Bregman should be the number one option.
Yeah, I think still Alex Bregman's going to be the number one priority for the Astros until otherwise that he maybe signs with another team. We have a little update on him later on, but I wouldn't be opposed to, if you're the Astros, looking at Nolan Arenado. I mean, he'll be going into his 25 season at the age of 34. Like you were mentioning, a down year last season.
Yeah.
But a guy still plays great defense, and you saw that last season with Alex Bregman winning his first Gold Glove award, and adding a guy like Arenado that has the glove over there in the hot corner. The only thing would be the offensive numbers. And let me give you the stats from last season. Nolan Arenado's slash line, not bad, but like I said, a down year for him. 272, 325, 394. You're going from batting average to on-base percentage to slugging. He had 23 doubles, 16 home runs, 71 RBIs, a 719 OPS, a 2.5 WAR, 314 WOBA, and a 102 WRC+. Them are average numbers, which is really crazy for a down year for a guy like that. But Fangraphs projected next season his slash line being around like 257, 315, 425, projecting him to hit 23 home runs, 88 RBIs. That can change if he does go to Houston, but as of right now, that's what Fangraphs projects. The big number I like to see from this is a 272 with runners in scoring position. I would say this was really played for the Astros last year and even not potential, but past seasons as well. They struggle with runners in scoring position, bring the next man in, second and third, first and third, whatever you want to put the scenarios on. And that's not a bad number with runners in scoring position at 272. That's pretty good. But going on with StatCast real quick on Arenado, 27.8% were line drives, which is not bad at all. just probably got hit to some bad luck. Fourth highest in his 10 seasons. Solid and barrel contact, though. That was the biggest thing for him. Were the lowest percentages in his 10-year career. 5.1 solid contact and 3.2 percentage of his barrel rate. But a guy like you were saying that maybe a new scenery can really change him. And this would help him a lot if he decides to come to Houston. His expected home run by ballpark, Minute Park, or if you want to call it Daikin Park at this moment, but as of right now, until December 31st, it is still Minute Park. It is up there in the rankings. The only two fields that have more home runs would be Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. That's 294. And Coors Field, which is a familiarity for him that he played with the Rockies, with 290. Minute Park would be 288, which is not bad at all. And each of his seasons that he's played, so like 23, 22, 21. I mean, we could go through all the seasons that he's played so far this season. Arenado would either have tied or have the highest amount of home runs at Minute Park in each season. So meaning he can have the same amount of expected home runs. Let's say Minute Park had 18, Dodger Stadium had 18. So meaning that tied, or Minute Park 27 and Wrigley Field 24. Each season, the expected home run by ballpark, Minute Park has been always up there in each of his seasons that he's played. So that does give him a strength if he decides to come to Houston. The down part of Arenado's offensive production this past season, a lot of categories during this past season were just not really great for him. Exit velo, barrel, like I had mentioned already, hard hit percentage, expected batting average, expected WOBA, expected slugging. All of those numbers have been down. But when you think about expected, that doesn't necessarily mean it happened. It's expected batting average. That's what he's projected to have if the catch probability, like let's say they caught it on a diving play or on a jump, on a leaping grab. So there's a lot of declines this past season, but it's a safe part if the Astros do want to contend. And then, like Dana Brown already had mentioned in his press conference when he had traded for Isaac Paredes and them, that they're still going to contend in the AL West, and they're not going to be out of it just because of their infield, their bullpen, and their rotation. But Alex Bregman, I think I can just say this for both of us. Alex Bregman is still going to be the number one priority for them. But Nolan Arenado isn't a bad choice. It just depends on the 10-time Gold Glover if he's going to waive his no clause to the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I mean, these numbers again, like you're saying, like about the down year, his OPS is a 719. That's the lowest it's been since his rookie year in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with his home run numbers, 16. That's the lowest it's been since, well, not kind of 2020 season, but since his rookie year. So the fact that, he's going on through this slump, I'm sure he's working hard. I think if this deal is made, I think if the Astros have Isaac Paredes at first base and Nolan Arenado at third base, you can call them contenders. Like they'll still be a good team. The makeup will be there. I think Nolan Arenado can work through some things. I think the Astros have the capability of fixing that swing mechanically or doing what they got to do. At the end of the day, if you sign Alex Bregman or trade for Nolan Arenado, that's a win-win for both. I think both are great guys to have in the hot corner. As you can see, both Gold Gloves. Nolan Arenado was an All-Star until 2024. Like literally, there was a streak of eight All-Star games in a row. Again, excluding the 2020 season. I think there's no wrong answer of who would you want. It's just, can the trade go on? But what I do think is the Astros need to make up their mind as soon as possible, because the longer they wait to sign Alex Bregman, the higher that price tag is going to be. If Alex Bregman signs with a different team and the Astros are serious about trading for Nolan Arenado, they have to do it while Alex Bregman's still in the market, because once Alex Bregman's out, that trade market for Nolan Arenado is going to skyrocket. They're going to be asking for top prospects. They're going to be asking for Lama, which I think they're already asking for, honestly. Like, I feel like when you go to these negotiations, you're aiming high for your team. So I'm sure the Cardinals already asked for Cam Smith. they just got him right, and I'm sure they're already asking for him. So I think they need to make up their mind soon, just so if they wait, one of them is going to be higher than what's expected.
I will agree that they do need to make up their mind and see what goes. If Alex Bregman, if that is their actual final offer, then by all means, you gave it your best shot. You gave it a fair offer to a guy that would probably be, not even probably, he will be the highest paid contract in Astros history. Right now, I think I want to say Jose Altuve holds that with a 151 because if you, I think it's, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen on social media the largest contracts in each franchise, and the Astros are like maybe 24th out of 30 teams with a 151 contract. So Alex Bregman would be the highest paid Astro in franchise history. However, I will disagree on the trade package. I do not think the Astros will give up Cam Smith. I don't even think the Cardinals would ask for Cam Smith. I believe it's probably a guy out of the top 10 farm system. Obviously, the farm system is not the best. We've already preached that so many times, but you saw the Yankees trade with Cody Bellinger. It's kind of almost the same similarity to Nolan Arenado's contract. Big contract number, a lot of money that needs to be paid. And I mean, we'll already kind of break it around the horn, but the Yankees traded for Bellinger and they received $5 million and gave away a right-handed pitcher in Cody Petit. So that's why I disagree with, yeah, maybe the Cardinals have asked about a Cam Smith or a Jacob Melton or a Bryce Matthews, but I highly doubt that the Astros would trade any of those guys
Yeah, they won't.
because one, Arenado's age is already, I mean, it's already going up. He's already going to be in his mid 30s. Maybe the numbers aren't going to be the same. That's another thing that the Astros are kind of like maybe hesitant about because they've seen that with Jose Abreu, and it just didn't pan out like they were hoping. But Arenado's a little still younger. I believe he still has a prove it kind of year in 25. I do not see him being with the Cardinals still, but like you said, it's a win-win. Both of them are competitors. Of course, I think the Astros still want to lean on Alex Bregman for the leadership and the clubhouse presence, but Nolan Arenado is still not a bad replacement for your plan B or plan C. But I do agree if the Astros don't make a decision, that trade market is going to go quick and teams are going to be calling one by one.
Absolutely. So it's literally who do they want and who do they want to work with. So I think at the end of the day, when do you think you'll see a decision for either Alex Bregman or Nolan Arenado?
I think Alex Bregman could be before Christmas, I would say. I know
Okay.
for sure before the new year, but what, 17 plus 7? I mean, we're going to be a week away from Christmas Eve. God damn, that's just crazy.
Make sure you do
But
your Christmas stuff.
yeah, so I think this could be a signing before Christmas for sure. I think he's going to be signed before um, the new year starts. But too, I
I
do
can
want to ask, what does a trade package look like for Arenado? I already gave you my opinion. I don't think the Astros go top 10. I will say maybe they throw in an outfielder and a top 15, top 30 prospect.
it just depends who's gonna be. Honestly, it all comes down to money, like you said.
Yeah.
If the Astros are going to pay the majority of it, then it'll be a low end prospect or someone in the mid range, like you said. However, if the Astros want the Cardinals to take care of most of the money, then it'll probably be like maybe a Pedro Leon or uh maybe like a high end pitcher that's gonna be good. So I think it'll be a maybe either two player depending on money or one player depending on it just depends on money. Who's gonna be
I'm
handling
curious.
the majority of
I am
contracts?
curious now just to see their depth chart. Like what do they have? What do they need? Kind of like thing. I'm pulling it up real quick on my end. I think
The
bullpen.
Cardinals?
Yeah, I think for sure Ryan Presley's not going to be in a deal with that because they
Oh
got
no.
the National League save leader in Ryan Helsley. So I highly doubt that. They don't need catchers. They do need first basemen though. Alec Burleson, Luke and Baker's their first basemen as of right now. Second base, you got Brendan Donovan, Jose Fermin. Third base, like I said, I just don't think the Cardinals. I'll be shocked if they do keep Arenado for the 25 season. But third base, I mean, you're looking at Jose Fermin as your starter. Shortstop Mason Wynn's going to be the future over there, and then the outfield you got Lars Nootbaar, Michael Ciani, Victor Scott II, Jordan Walker, So maybe an outfielder could be in play
Yeah.
for the Cardinals. Chas McCormick, don't put him off the table. Don't put Jake Myers off the table. So some of those guys could be in a potential package. Like I said, I will say, like you were mentioning, low end prospects are more than likely going to be in on this deal. But if this deal is going to happen, the Cardinals will have to try to pay some part of that contract for the Astros.
Yeah. We'll see how it works out and see what the Astros do in the upcoming days.
Yeah, but let's give that update on Alex Bregman. Per Jose De Jesus Ortiz, Sunday night, he did tweet out, at this point, there's been no change in the Astros talks with Alex Bregman's agent. Since we last asked Dana Brown on Friday, I'm told from the Astros perspective, it's status quo since last Tuesday, I'm told. And then per Mark Feinstein, who works for MLB.com, he had tweeted this out today saying the Yankees, the Mets, and the Red Sox are among the teams with interest in Alex Bregman. Obviously, we already seen the Yankees make some moves this past winter with Max Fried and then getting Cody Bellinger. You've seen the Mets get a guy like Clay Holmes and then Juan Soto. Red Sox trading for Garrett Crochet. If it's not the Astros, which one of these teams could be potentially getting Alex Bregman?
Honestly, it, I'm gonna say to the AL East. I would say either the Red Sox or the Yankees have the best, you know, I think best projection to getting Alex Bregman. I'm leaning more towards the Red Sox just because the Yankees have made a lot of moves and they're paying Cody like they're paying the majority of the contract to Cody Bellinger. They did get Max Fried. They're paying him over 200 million as well. So I would say Red Sox because there was talk of moving Rafael Devers to first base, and I don't know how likely it is, but Alex Bregman also said, I don't know if you remember early on in the offseason that he was down to play second base. I don't see that happening though. I think if he does move to the Red Sox, Rafael Devers play first base and Alex Bregman will probably be third base.
Where do you move Tristan Casas? That's been another name that's been on the trade market rumors. Like for instance, in a deal with the Mariners and again starting pitching. So
Well, they do have a DH, so you could DH him or move him like you said.
yeah, I'm leaning more Red Sox too. Got that got that connection with Mark Wahlberg over there with Municipal. So yeah, Mark. I mean, not Mark Wahlberg. Alex Bregman could be a great fit for the Red Sox. Very young team too, so I could see his leadership being a good presence over there. Great lineup. He hits really well too at Fenway Park, just like every Astro does whenever they go to Boston. Mets, a little sleeper. I'd say a little sleeper team because as of right now, they don't know who's going to be at first base. If they do not contend with Pete Alonso, then more than likely you're going to see Mark Vientos go to first. That opens up that third base. So that's why I'm kind of like maybe, maybe not.
Do you think the Mets, like realistically, again, this is off topic and this is the last podcast, but realistically, after paying Juan Soto, do you think the Mets pay Pete Alonso?
Steve Cohen has the money, baby. Do not count him out. Do not count that man out. He has the money to do whatever deal. So I wouldn't count out Pete Alonso to the Mets. I'm pretty sure some of his teammates are already calling him saying, hey, we got Juan Soto. You saw what we did last year in the NLCS. We were like 2 wins away from the World Series. I know he wants the bag, but if he does want some rings, Queens has a great future over there with not just the farm system, but what they have as of right now.
Yeah,
That'd be my pitch.
absolutely.
That'd be my pitch at least.
No, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
But Alex Bregman, yeah, man, I don't know. It's kind of like I'm under 50% that Alex Bregman will return in a Astros uniform. You never know what can happen. But as of right now, I mean, the Astros have options. That's why we titled this episode, What's the Next Move for the Astros? We've already heard about Nolan Arenado being a series suitor. The Astros being a series suitor for Nolan Arenado. If they don't get him, there's no worry. You put Isaac Paredes still at third base. Then you go shopping in the first baseman market. You look at the outfield as well. I'm pretty sure they've had some talks with maybe Anthony Santander. They probably have talks with Christian Walker, Carlos Santana. which to me, I think that's a win for the Astros. If let's say they don't sign Alex Bregman, they don't get that trade with Nolan Arenado, you sign either Christian Walker or Carlos Santana, and you either go after a Anthony Santander or even another guy that's a former Astro that has won a won a World Series ring in 2017 with the Astros, and Teoscar Hernandez.
Again, I think freeing up Kyle Tucker again frees up all these options too. So if, again, I'm not going back to that, but I think it was a good move. You can read the article on our scheme there, but they have that flexibility.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the Cubs are actually going to get an extension done. Kyle Tucker did have his press conference. I'm pretty sure everybody had saw it on MLB Network and all that. But they are talking about maybe potentially having an extension. He said he never ruled it out. Chicago's a great team, a great city to play in, and a great city overall. I like the fit over there for him. I do say I'm projecting it right now. I do think the Cubs make the postseason. They do win the Central for the first time in a while because the Brewers have been rolling that division out. But adding a superstar player in Kyle Tucker, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, sky's the limit for that team, man. I honestly think they have a great shot. But if nobody had saw two and nobody had listened to his press conference in the beginning of it, they had asked him, well, where were you at the time? What happened? And he's like, man, it's funny. I was at Miles Straw's wedding doing groomsmen things. So he was taking calls and doing groomsmen stuff for Miles Straw. Of course, they do. Both of them have that connection, being with the Astros, being a former teammate and Straw. But yeah,
how much from the bet Caltech was under the influence when he got the call?
No, you can't. No. You can't. You got to be a groomsman. You got to be right. You got to have everything sorted out. You can't be one of those guys that just drink it up, and then when it comes to the best man speech, I think I heard somebody had said that he was the best man of his wedding.
Was he? Okay.
I think so. I've read something about that on social, but yeah, just a man. Well, I'm pretty sure there's been drunk best man speeches out there
all the time.
I already figured out one of them. So, but yeah, that's as of right now. What's the next move for the Astros? I think in my opinion, and I already had mentioned it already, I'm gonna say it one more time. They don't sign Alex Bregman. They don't trade for Nolan Arenado. Let's say they do trade for Nolan Arenado. Then you focus at first base, not first base. Then you focus on the outfield, getting a guy like Anthony Santander. If you don't get Arenado, Santander, Teoscar Hernandez is what you're targeting for the outfield, because in my opinion, nothing against Jake Myers, nothing against Chas McCormick, nothing against Mauricio Dubon, but that is not a great outfield, a great outfield hitting staff.
I agree with you. I think best case scenario is you leave third base alone. We talk about it. Focus on first base and outfield, like you're saying. I think that's the best case.
Any other free agents am I missing that you think that the Astros could potentially sign?
No, I think you hit all of them. And I think we talked about all of them in the podcast before. So if we're missing one, if you're curious, we mentioned, you could always go back and hear our previous stuff. I think Max Kepler's name came up. Santander for sure is a big one. Bellinger was also
one too.
Yeah, Verdugo. So I mean, we mentioned all these guys. Obviously, we don't remember all of them on top of our head, but we've mentioned them before.
Definitely, but let's project the Astros starting rotation. Andrew, you want to take a gander what the rotation could potentially look like as of today in 2025?
Yeah, I know you said Hunter Brown was the ace of the team last podcast, I say, but that honor still goes to Framber Valdez. So I think in this order, it's going to be Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco, Spencer Arrighetti, and either Hayden Wazensky, because then Brown said he's going to get all the opportunity to start, or Luis Garcia as well. It's just depending if he's ready to go. I think, okay, let me backtrack. If Luis Garcia is healthy, I think Spencer Arrighetti gets the short end of the stick just because, I mean, he did everything right. It's just, I think they're going to give. I'm big on you can't lose your spot due to injury, so I think he's going to get a shot to be in the starting rotation too.
So as of right now, you got Framber, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco,
Hayden Wazensky, and then Luis Garcia.
and then Luis Garcia. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Astros do go 6-man rotation. So you can obviously put Arrighetti right there. Um, but I think Arrighetti has a good and bright future. You saw little snips of him the second half of the season. Rookie AL Player of the Month or Pitcher of the Month. I mean, well, no, AL Rookie Player of the Month. Yeah,
Mhm.
and in August he had a wonderful August. So, in my opinion, I agree with the top three: Valdez, Brown, Blanco. I will say Arrighetti gets the nod at 4 and 5. I'll give it to Hayden Wisniewski. I'm very interested to see this guy be in a starting role. I'm more than anything that the Astros are going to test that out in spring training. Got a great fastball, a lot of movement on that sweeper. That's why the guys, as in the front office, had probably want to go after him because he had some good movement on his off speeds. So he has a bright future being in that back end of that rotation. And then, like you were mentioning, Luis Garcia, that's a guy. It just depends for me if they're going to be ready in spring training. Luis Garcia is going to depend. It's going to depend on JP France as well. And it's going to depend on Lance McCullers Jr. It just depends on them. If everything goes well in their rehab all the way into spring training, I'm going to leave them off the rotation as of now because we do not know their status. Obviously, Christian Javier, I just don't think he'll be ready. If I had to guess, maybe till June or maybe after the All-Star break.
Yeah,
So
I think he has the same timetable that Luis Garcia and Osman Cutters did last year. Out of all those three guys, though, Luis Garcia, JP France, and Lance McCullers Jr., I think Luis Garcia has a better chance of coming back sooner just because he was so close to getting ready to pitch, and then obviously just elbow soreness and they played it safe. But Lance McCullers and JP France weren't throwing at the end of the season, I think, for like a longer period of time. So I think they have a longer uh, recovery period than that.
hot take right here. If the Astros are still in contention, and if they're not in contention, Lance McCullers Jr. gets traded at the deadline.
I don't think so. It's just because of the contract. I don't I don't see many teams wanting to take up his contract for the all the injuries that happen. I think that if I think Lance McCullers would be a hard one to trade.
Hot take. Hot
You
take.
think so?
I don't know. I mean, they have a lot of pitching. That's the
Yeah.
great thing. They have 9 starting pitchers as of right now: Valdez, Brown, Blanco, Arrighetti, Wisniewski, Garcia, France, McCullers Jr., and Christian Javier. That is 9 starting pitchers. So if the Astros need some type of bat or they need a reliever at the deadline, maybe they just stay where they're at. That's a name that could be flirted in some deadline acquisitions. I maybe Garcia as well. I just don't think Arrighetti's going to get traded. I don't think Blanco's going to get traded. I definitely know for sure Brown's not going to get traded. Valdez possibly, maybe because of that, he's going to be on his last year of his contract. Just have to see. Javier's the only one really non-tradable because he's signed till maybe what 2027, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I think so.
So yeah, so
Lance
those guys
Lance
have to
McCullers
get
is
traded.
getting paid 17 million,
Till when though?
2025 and 2026.
So that's why I said if a team needs starting pitching, I don't think. Let's say that, like that's what I'm saying. Let's say Lance McCullers Jr. is pitching really well. Let's say he has a sub 3 ERA, has a 10-6. I'm just throwing a number out there, 10-6 record with a lot of strikeouts. Opponent batting average will go with a 240, 235. You're saying that he may not be tradable?
If the Astros were to trade him, they're gonna have to eat up the majority of the contract, is my opinion. That's what I'm saying. I think it's gonna be hard to work a trade because 17 million for a pitcher who hasn't pitched in the past 2 seasons. That's a hard one to debate with and why he's making your
But
team better.
that's what I'm saying. If he's pitching with a 10-6 record, a sub 3 ERA, a lot of strikeouts with a 235, 240 opponent batting average. You do not think a team would willing to take that risk knowing that they'll have another year of starting pitching with him in 2026?
If the Astros eat up the contract, then yes, then he'll
Let's
be
say
able
they
to.
go half then. Let's say they go half. They're like,
Okay,
okay, we'll go half. We'll eat some of it, but we're not going to eat all of that contract.
if that happens, then I can see that working.
See, I agree with you there, but I still agree that I think a team will trade for him, and the Astros don't have to pay any of that contract after that. Because it's just gonna. You saw this in the past trade deadline. A lot of teams were looking at starting pitchers: Jack Flaherty,
Yeah.
Garrett Crochet, Yusei Kikuchi. I mean, a lot of teams. So let's say a guy like McCullers who can be in a. I mean, think about it. If he's back in 2021 form, how he was, that he was honestly a Cy Young candidate. Not saying he was top 5, but at least in the top 10 because he was pitching really well without a Justin Verlander, without Garrett Cole that year because he had signed in the Yankees in 2020. It's not. I'm not ruling that out. That's what I'm saying. I'm not ruling that out if that can happen.
I guess let's just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we're getting too ahead of ourselves. The damn season hasn't even started. But if you're joining us, let us know. Comments. What's the next Astros move? What do they need to do? Look at third baseman, first baseman, outfielder, left-handed bat. Did the Astros maybe trade one of these starting pitchers coming trade deadline, as we are already talking? But let's go into that starting lineup now, because they got Isaac Paredes. Cam Smith is nowhere near of starting in this lineup as of right now, maybe potentially in 2026, I would have to guess. But as of today, this is the Astros starting lineup. And this, you can play with this whatever you want. Second base, Jose Altuve. Third base, Isaac Paredes. DH, Yordan Alvarez. Catcher, Yainer Diaz. First base, John Singleton. Left fielder, Mauricio Dubon. Center fielder, Jake Myers. Shortstop, Jeremy Pena. Right fielder, Chas McCormick. On your bench, you have Victor Caratini, Taylor Trammell, Gray Kessinger, and Zach DeZenzo. Is this starting lineup capable of, let's say, at least winning the division?
Win a division? Slightly, yes. I'm leaning towards yes, just because.
Give me the percentage. What's the slide part? We're going 90-10, 80-20, 75-25. What we're looking at?
I'd say the Astros could win the division by maybe a game or two. It's gonna be close, just because that bottom of the order and lineup needs a little bit of work. I wouldn't put, I wouldn't count out Jeremy Pena being second. So I think this lineup will be a little bit like, I'm not saying like the lineup was bad. I mean it's good. Uh, Altuve, Pena, Alvarez, Isaac Baez, Yanier Diaz, and then you follow by John Singleton, Dubon, Myers, McCormick. Now, as last year showed, I'm just going by what last year,
Mhm.
that bottom of the lineup struggled to bring in runs. So I think, depending, I know the Angels made a lot of moves. A's surprisingly signed Severino and are, they have a good squad. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the biggest competitions the Astros have will be the Oakland Athletics. The Mariners have been kind of quiet, like not making moves. Rangers, you saw, I mean, they still have a good team, but will they play to their full potential? I think right now this AL West team, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's kind of exciting going into this year. Like all of those teams, it's like with the departure of Kyle Tucker. I know you had to talk about this and stuff like that. I think this year, this division could be anyway, like anybody's. Like if you look at how the Athletics finished off the season, if they didn't start so poorly in the beginning, the way they finished off, you might be telling them, hey, they might be sneaking out as a third wild card team, just because they were like they really fun to get in the second half. So it'll be tough. I think if the Astros can add one more bat to that bottom of the lineup, just so it won't be again. I'm just going by last year. They struggled to score runs. I felt once Yanier Diaz hit, if he didn't bring in the runs, you better hope someone gets a base knock because no runs were going to be scored. And it's just tough to think about an Astros lineup not being deep because if you remember that 2019 lineup, that 2020 lineup, I think Astros fans have been spoiled in having such a deep lineup that now they're figuring out that hey, this they need something else. So I think could be a potentially AOS winner, World Series winner. Absolutely not. I think they need to add one more bat for that.
I think Astro fans are not going to like hearing this. I do not see this lineup as of right now a division winner. I just
Okay.
don't see it.
I think I was being
Um,
generous too because I was leaning to that too.
so Yiner Diaz, I like him being in the fourth spot for the
Okay.
Astros just because of his production of last season, how it was. Jordan Alvarez in that second hole wasn't a bad move, but if I'm Joe Espada, I do like him in that third spot, like you were mentioning. Jeremy Pena could be that two guy. I'm not opposed to Isaac Paredes being in that two hole for them. So I'll leave it like that. John Singleton, um, great. I honestly think he is a good starting first baseman, but he is not a MLB caliber like what you call it, like let's say Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Them are two different people. I think he's a great backup first
Big
baseman.
time.
Yeah. So I don't see him. That's why I'm making, like you were saying, they do need a bat. They desperately need a bat. And like let's play with it. Let's just play with it. Let's say they re-sign Alex Bregman. Well, Alex Bregman's going to be in that two hole back at it again. I will put Isaac Paredes under Yiner Diaz in that five spot, and then you can go John Singleton and play it with there. Or then they could plus maybe they potentially sign a guy like Anthony Santander or Teoscar Hernandez, Max Kepler, Verdugo, all them guys. Let's say they trade for Nolan Arenado. Arenado is a great hitter in that five spot. I've looked at his numbers, about a 275, 285, either close around that range as his batting average. You've seen the runners in scoring position number I gave you earlier in the show, so I wouldn't be opposed to that. But Jose Altuve right there, let's say Nolan Arenado could be right there, but I'd stick with Paredes, Alvarez, Diaz, Arenado, and then go from there. So there's a lot of ways to play with this lineup just depending on who they sign. Yes, I agree with you. They definitely need to sign some type of bat, either a Christian Walker, either a Anthony Santander, Teoscar Hernandez. Trade away some guys too and get a guy like Arenado. I don't know. They do need a bat, maybe another bat too. But as of right now, this lineup is not a division winner lineup. I will say the Rangers have a better lineup. That's the only team I could think of that has a better lineup than the Astros as of right now. Potentially, maybe the A's, Geloff, Langoliers, Butler, some good guys over there. And then they added some, their rotations look strong too with Severino and Jeffrey Springs. So yeah, this division is literally open. It is wide open for anybody to take. But you told me today that can the Astros win the division with this lineup? I'm gonna just straight up just tell you in your face, no, this is not a division winning lineup. I could be wrong, and I love being proved wrong. But in my opinion, I just don't see it being a AL West champion lineup.
Now that you mentioned, you just came with the lineup. Would you be opposed? And this is kind of because, like I had mentioned, that bottom of the lineup struggled to score runs.
Mhm.
Would you be opposed of having Jeremy Pena lead off, Jose Altuve second, then Jordan Alvarez third? Either Isaac Paredes, Diaz at fourth, fifth hole. Now let me tell you my reasoning to that. I will give Jeremy Pena this. He does get on base. Like, like when he's on, like he can get on base periodically.
Mhm.
So that kind of gives Jose Altuve. You get more guys able to, uh, kind of bring him home and kind of bolster the lineup. So if like say there's two outs, Chas McCormick Jake Myers strikes out, McCormick strikes out, Pena gets on base. Now the reason I like that a little bit more is because Jose Altuve is kind of like a free singer. Like he's not your traditional leadoff guy, right? But at the end of the day, Jose Altuve is gonna run out those singles, right? Try to do what he can to get on base. But it's just kind of like with Jose Altuve, the way he can hit the gaps, get those infield hits and kind of set up the big guys. Like, do you see that as a possibility?
I mean, I don't. I think
Okay.
Altuve is really good in the leadoff role for them. Um, Jeremy Pena, I will say this: I'm looking at his on base percentage right now, and his OBP was better in 23 with a 324 than
Yeah, he
last year.
did struggle this year. Yeah, he did struggle last year.
Yeah, but the strikeout numbers have declined from 135 to 129 to 111. So that is a plus, I guess you can really say for him. This is a guy too that I do agree he does get on base, and I'll even say this. I'll add on with the infield hits. He beats out a lot of infield hits with a lot of infield singles. They might be a swinging bunt, but that's a line drive in the textbooks. If you tell me today, that is a line drive in the textbooks. But no, I would not put Jeremy Pena. I wouldn't mind him being in the 9 spot, but I just don't see him being a leadoff guy. And like I said, if they do get Bregman, he's going to stay in the 2. Wherever signing trade the Astros do, Jose Altuve is going to stay in that leadoff role.
Yeah, again, a lot of uncertainty, but one thing we could agree on is the Astros need some additional offense. Uh, because like I said, you said they will win the division with Atlanta, but I said it'll be tough if they do it. If they do, it'll be one game, two, very narrow lead in that. But yeah, I guess I do like that idea. But I am curious to see how Zach DeZenzo does in his sophomore year. He showed great promise. If he can kind of step up a little bit, I think he can kind of not fill the hole, but just provide a little bit more production in the bottom.
Yeah,
And
Asher Craig need an outfielder back. Wonder
I
what type
agree.
of outfielder. What type of outfielder are we looking for? Are we looking for power and contact? Are we looking for a guy that can hit the gaps? Or are we looking for a guy that can hit with runners in scoring position? Um, the Astros do need some type of bat. If they can hit a Chas McCormick 2020 season back in 2023, I think that's a win for them. But you've seen Jake Myers catch fire and then caught cold that second half. McCormick just didn't have a great season last season. Dubon, you saw the flashes of having a 20-something game hit streak when Jose Altuve was down. But I think there's better options for the Astros. I just don't know who would they go get because obviously we're not in the front office. We're not going to be sure. We're just speculating and giving our opinion what kind of guys they can go after. Of course, they have to see if they have the money for it. If they don't have the money for it, then you're looking at in-house guys like you were mentioning, Zach DeZenzo. Potentially, I do think Jacob Melton makes his MLB debut this upcoming season. I just don't know when, but I do see him getting the call to the big leagues this season. Zach DeZenzo is a good guy to mention at first base. As a good in-house guy, you can save a little bit of money if you don't go after the Christian Walkers, the Carlos Santanas, the Paul Goldschmidts. Then you settle with a rookie like that, and he's done not too bad in Puerto Rican Winter League over there down in San Jose. So never know what can happen. Maybe he does come back into the States in Houston and go to Florida, West Palm, and start banging the ball, man. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can play with this. But if I had to say who's looking at a division winner right now with a good lineup, you would have to go with the Texas Rangers.
On paper, right?
Yeah, on paper. On paper. Somebody better than Myers. He also threw out a name, Randall Grichuk. Not a bad player. Power numbers are up there.
It's crazy that talking about spoiled Astros fans, they've had Michael Brantley, George Springer, Kyle Tucker, all man the outfield for some time. But yeah, they need some outfield work because kind of replacing those guys has been kind of difficult for the Astros.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, that trade was a well-needed trade. I will say that.
The Kyle Tucker one?
Yes, it is a well-needed one because you need to replenish that farm system, which now you got a guy that literally just came from the Cubs to the Astros and is already number one on this farm system. So I think that was a good move on that. You got a guy like that. You got a guy that can hit really well at Minute Maid Park in Isaac Paredes, pull heavy, a guy that could potentially play first base too if you do bring back Alex Bregman or you go look at Arenado. And then plus, I mean, you could continue playing him at third base and look at your options at first base. And then a guy like Hayden Wesneski, Houston-born, Cy-Fair alum, Sam Houston State, favorite pitcher, Royals, well, fastball movement, sweeper movement. So this was a well-balanced trade. At least you got something out of it for a guy like Kyle Tucker. And I think honestly, Kyle Tucker is going to thrive over there in Chicago. I think
Too.
that's well needed for him because, like you said, Astro fans have been spoiled with a bunch of superstar players: George Springer, Carlos Correa. Alex Bregman's right now on the free agent market. Jose Altuve, Jordan Alvarez, Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander. When have you heard of Kyle Tucker's name? Last season, you were starting to hear a little bit more of it
Yeah.
because he was playing at an MVP caliber level. But now, obviously that he's now going to be in Chicago. I honestly think he is the number one guy over there. He is
Yeah.
the number one
And
guy.
now that he's in Chicago, he's gonna definitely become a household name for sure.
Definitely. But before we end it, Angel, what do you got? What else you got?
Around the horn, I think the biggest news: Cody Bellinger to the Yankees. Uh, Cubs sent 5 million. And Cody Bellinger to the Yankees for Cody Petit. The reason why it's a low and price, what Lorenzo was saying earlier, is because the Yankees are paying the majority of that contract. The Cubs, instead of paying the 50, because Bellinger's owed the next 2 years, 52,500,000. The Yankees will pay the majority of that. All the Cubs are paying is 5 million off of that. So it's like it's honestly like putting a down payment in the car for sure, and then the Yankees are taking care of the rest. Um, and then the other big news is that Orioles signed Japanese pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano as well. There's a video out there on social media, you can find it, of Sugano kind of tearing up the United States uh, batter. So he's had pretty good showings in the states, and I'm sure the if one team needed more pitchers, it's gonna be the Orioles for sure. You're on mute.
They're not certain that they're going to get Corbin Burns. They could be missing out on him. They already missed out on Max Fried. Maybe they could get a guy like Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler. But getting a guy like this who has played in the Japanese league, MVP, I think I've seen too
Hmm.
about him. So a lot of Japanese players, though, are starting to come up here, man. And that's
They're
really
good,
great for baseball. That is really great for baseball.
and they're good too.
Yeah, but we already put the nail on that one too with Jeffrey Springs going to the Oakland Athletics. Like Angel said,
Several Severino signing with the Athletics too.
that AOS is going to be very competitive this season. It's exciting, but if you're a Nationals fan, you're kind of a little worried as of right now because we gave you the lineup, how it's looking, the rotation. We're not going to give out the bullpen because the bullpen is the bullpen. But as of right now, that lineup, a little shaky, a little shaky. I think the Nationals are like maybe 2 moves away from getting back into the contention of owning. I mean, it's still, I still think it still runs through Houston in the AL West just for the fact they've had the West for like what 3 consecutive years already.
Hmm.
So yes, it still runs through Houston. But if you look at this lineup on paper, you're kind of scratching your head like, think there needs to be another move coming. So
So
if another move comes this week, we'll have that emergency live episode like we did the last time with Kyle Tucker being traded to the Cubs. If not, Angel, I'm looking maybe on a Monday night episode before Christmas because Christmas Eve is on the 24th. Christmas Day is on the 25th.
sounds good.
But like Angel had mentioned, hit them social media platforms, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. We're at FSA Full Steam Ahead. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on that YouTube channel. A lot of our followers and audience are coming from our Twitter base, but if you go to YouTube and hit that subscribe button, we really appreciate it. Of course, like Angel had mentioned, hit that follow button and get all the downloads on Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Wherever you find your podcasts, we are there. Potentially, we can maybe do a little giveaway too, just for Christmas being around the corner. It probably won't be a lot of tension because a lot of people are, on doing their own thing, which is not the problem with that. But just as a season of giving, and of course, we always love doing our little giveaways, monthly giveaways during the season. But Angel, you got anything else before we sign off?
No, thank you for listening. I know for it not being baseball season compared to years past, we've been having a really good showing. A really nice audience through every podcast. So we appreciate the support. Appreciate you staying tuned to, I guess, your Astros, right? So peace. Thank you.
Definitely. We'll get them interviews coming up soon in the off season. We're not finished with that yet. If we don't hit up on December, maybe we get 2 interviews on January. maybe an interview on February. So continue
Oh,
hit that subscribe button.
also we're on what, the seventh top 10, top seven Astros now moments. Was it
Yes.
last season?
So we will probably put one out either tomorrow on Wednesday or even on Thursday. So
Okay,
we're
I
getting
think it's
close
number
to the end.
7. So stay tuned.
Yeah, either 7 or 6. It's been a while, but we'll get that out there. And all that good stuff. But until then, y'all have a blessed and safe week. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to y'all Monday night. See you.